Okay, good morning, everyone. This is our week two review of our competitive bidding class. And last week we talked about preemptive bidding, and this week we're going to talk about overcalls. We talked about last week, we were looking at the fact that this class we're taking, these four classes, the four lessons that you're going to be taking, have to do with entering the bidding when someone else is bidding. In our beginning bridge class, we learned the basics of bridge without the opponent saying anything. But once we get the basics down, then we have to adjust for being able to get into the bidding after the opponents have opened the bidding. And there's really several reasons that we want to do this. The first reason is just because the opponents have opened the bidding doesn't mean that it's their bid. They opened the bidding, but you might have all the rest of the points in the deck. So it could even be a game for you. Or at least if they've opened the bidding, it could be a part score for you, not necessarily a game, but you can compete for the bidding. So it could be your bid. That's the first reason. The second reason that you want to get in the bidding is because it makes it difficult for them to bid. You know, you just don't want them to easily be able to get to the perfect place that they want to bid to. So that's part of what we're doing when we get into the bidding after someone else has started the bidding. And then the third reason that we want to get into the bidding is it describes your hand to your partner, which means that in some cases it just exactly describes your hand so and messes them up so that people won't bid anymore, like the preemptive bidding does. Or in the case of overcalls, which we're talking about this week, it describes your hand and gives your partner an idea of what to lead to you. So those are the reasons why we have this whole separate class that has to do with competitive bidding. Because most of the time when you're bidding, you are doing competitive bidding. And that means that both of you are competing for the bid because it's usually not just one side that bids. If you have 27, 30 points, yes, probably is going to be your side that bids. But usually it's not that lopsided. So usually it's more evenly distributed. And then usually both sides bid. So last week when we talked about preemptive bidding, and you'll remember preemptive bidding may be after the opponents have bid, but it also can be your first bid, could be a preemptive bid. A preemptive bid is just a bid that says, partner, I have less than opening hand and I have a good suit, and that's all I have. I don't have a lot of points outside, less than an opening hand, and a good suit. If I bid at the 2 level, I've got 6 in the suit. If I bid at the 3 level, I've got 7. If I just start out at the 4 level, I've got 8. And the point of that bid is mainly to make it difficult for the opponents to bid. It cuts them out of the bidding. They have to get into the bidding at a high level. So that's why we do that. And usually, because you have less than an opening hand, I usually consider it around 10 points. Just in my mind, I think, oh, partners preempted, they have about 10 points. I would need to have about 16 points to have a chance for game. So usually you're passing once your partner's made a preemptive bid. Not always. Sometimes you do have enough points, but mostly you pass. So that's the thing about preemptive bidding. It's pretty cut and dried. You either have a preemptive hand or you don't. If you have a preemptive hand, you preempt, and then you don't keep bidding because you've described your hand with that preemptive bid. Your partner may do something else, but your preemptive bid has done its job. So unless your partner bids a new suit, you don't keep bidding. In other words, if you bid 3 hearts and the opponents bid 3 spades, you don't come back and bid 4 hearts. Your 3 heart bid did its job. If your partner wants to bid more, they can, but you don't come back and bid again if you correctly described your hand the first time. So that brings us to the rest of the class. The next 3 lessons, we're going to be talking about ways to interfere in an ongoing auction, not in a preemptive way, but an actual descriptive way of our hand. And the first one we're going to talk about this week, or we talked about on last Monday, is overcalls. This week, we're going to be talking about takeout doubles. And then next week, the last week, we're going to be talking about several issues, but mainly another special kind of double called a negative double. These 2 that we're going to be talking about this week and next week, overcalls and takeout doubles, are the only 2 ways that you can bid after the opponents have opened the bidding, other than a preemptive bid. But setting those aside, regular bidding, if the opponents have opened, you either have to do an overcall or a takeout double. Your bid is going to be means one of those 2 things. So it's important that we understand what we're saying when we make an overcall. That's just a bid over a call that the opponents have made. That's what an overcall is. So let's take a look at overcalls. Okay. Here is the information on overcalls. The reason that we overcall is, first, describes our hand. That's what we said. Second is it interferes with the opponents, makes it difficult for them to bid, or at least they have to go up some levels sometimes if they're going to bid. And the last thing is it suggests an opening lead for your partner. So because it does those 3 things, we need to talk about what it is. The first thing is, if you are going to overcall, that is, the opponents have made a bid and you want to make a bid after that, the rules change. If if the opponents bid a heart and you have an opening hand where you could bid spades, you could still bid 1 spade. The bid would have the same meaning. If they hadn't bid, you would have bid 1 spade. But actually, the meaning is expanded, because if the opponents have opened the bidding, now your bid, your opening bid, is not really an opening hand the way it is for an opening bidder, because you are an overcalling bidder. You're not really opening, you are overcalling. You are basing your bid on something somebody else did instead of basing your bid as the first bid out, if that makes sense to you guys. So an overcall is different than an opening bid. So what an overcall promises is, first, a 5-card good suit. And if you guys will remember from last week when we talked about preemptive bidding, what did we mean by a good suit? Well, it was 2 of the top 3 or 3 of the top 5 in the suit, right? That's what a good suit is. So if you were going to overcall a suit, you need to have, you're promising 5 cards in the suit, and you're promising a good, solid suit. Because remember, part of the thing you're trying to do is suggest an opening lead. Well, you don't want to suggest an opening lead if you have a 5-card suit headed by the jack. There's no point in that. So you want to have a good 5-card suit to overcall. The second thing that you're going to be promising is 8 to 16 high card points, or about 10 to 17 total points. So around 8 or 10 points, you can be as low as that. You don't have to have 13 points the way you do to open. To overcall, you can have a lot less, could be as low as 8. But there is a limit on the top part of it. It's about 16 or 17. If you have a bigger hand than that, you do a takeout double first. Then you bid something. And we'll talk about this week when we talk about takeout doubles, you'll learn how to handle that. So if we're going to make an overcall, that means like they bid a diamond and we bid a heart overcall, or they bid a heart and we bid a spade overcall, or they bid a club and we bid a heart overcall. Doesn't have to be the next thing up. We are promising 5 in the suit and between 8 and about 16 or 17 points. If you're going to overcall at the 2 level, so like they opened 1 heart and I want to say 2 diamonds, I need to have a little bit more than just 8 to 10. I need to have closer to 11 or 12 points, closer to an opening hand, and probably a 6-card suit. Because you need to be more serious if you have to go to the 2 level. Now, there is one other thing, and that is you can overcall 1 no trump. So if the opponents open 1 of something, club, 1 heart, 1 diamond, or 1 spade, you can bid 1 no trump, and it means about the same thing as a regular 1 no trump does. It's a balanced hand with 15 to about 18 points, a little bit stronger, can be, but it requires stoppers in the opponent's suit. Usually when you bid a no trump as an open bidder, you weren't required to have a stopper in every suit. Those were the old rules. For years now, we've been playing, you don't have to have a stopper, a way to keep the suit from running in every suit. But if the opponents have bid and have told you about a suit that they have, then you do need to have a stopper in that suit, but none of the others. But that's when you would overcall 1 no trump. That's like if they bid a heart and I bid a no trump. I've got the same no trump hand. If they hadn't have bid, I would have had a no trump.
And
heart stopped. Yes, Martha?
Sally, would you please define a stopper?
Yeah, a stopper.
King or ace?
Yeah, a stopper is a card that you have that will stop them from running a suit. So you need to have an ace, or you need to have a king and a little one, or a queen and a couple of little ones, or even a jack and 3 little ones.
Okay, just to keep it from them taking over with the no trump. Right, got it. Running that suit.
Right,
okay,
running
great.
The whole suit.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so the actual overcall is pretty straightforward. The only differences between that is if the opponents have opened, your opening bid, your overcall opening bid, does not have to be an opening hand. It can be as low as 8 points if you have a good suit. And it requires, if you overcall, you are promising a good 5-card suit. Now, you'll notice that if you cannot overcall, if you don't have a 5-card suit, you cannot overcall. So the opening hands that you would have had where you might open a diamond because you have 4, you don't have a 5-card major, or you open a club even where you only have, 3. You can't do that as an overcall. You cannot show an opening hand once the opponents have bid. You have to overcall. You will learn this week, or you can do a takeout double, which may give you some more leeway. But in general, if the opponents have started the bidding, you then have to react to what they've done, either by overcalling or doing a takeout double. Your rules about opening are no longer the same. They are either an overcall or a takeout double. And if you can't do either one of those things, you have to pass. So you'll find yourself with a 13 or 14 point hand, not infrequently where you can't bid if they have bid first. This is another reason that if we can open the bidding, we will open the bidding. Even with we teach 13 points is definitely an opening. But if you have a good 12 points, you're mostly going to want to open. And you'll learn later, there's even some other rules we can use to open with even less if we meet certain criteria. And that's because we want to open if we can. We kind of set the tone for the rest of the bidding. Sorry, my son has just called me 3 times in a row. Let me at least send him a text that says I can't talk right now. Beg your pardon, guys, for interrupting. Okay. I didn't tell y'all all weren't on at the same time, but we heard a big explosion here about 11:25 or 11:20. And my cousin, my nephew, and my son, who live 3 or 4 miles away, also heard it. So it was something big. So anyway, I'm sure he's trying to call me to tell me something about it now. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. So let's get back to the overcall. So we were saying that if you have you may frequently have an opening hand as an overcaller that you cannot bid. So you will find yourself having to pass when that's the case, because you either have to do an overcall or a takeout double over an opponent's opening bid. And that's why we strain to open if we can, because we set the tone for the bidding. Okay, so that is the overcall itself. Now let's talk about advancing the bidding. Advancing the bidding. Now, advancing is just a fancy word for saying responding to. If the opponents have bid, we no longer call our responses a response. We call it an advance. It's a little technical term, but basically it's just a response to your partner's overcall. So if you just have 0 to 6 or 7 points, you can just pass. You don't need to say anything. If you do not have support for whatever your partner said, you'll just bid as usual. So if the opponent's bid a diamond and my partner overcalls a heart and the next player passes, then I can say a spade just like I would have if they had opened one heart. So I just have to have 6 points and 4 spades in that case. Does that make sense? If he had opened one heart, I could say 1 spade with 6 points and 4 spades. I can say the same thing to an overcall. So I can make the same response if I don't have support, if I want to bid my own suit. But if I do have support, the rules change about what we bid. Okay, so if partner has made an overcall, they've promised 5 cards in the suit, right? So I just need to have 3 cards to support that suit. And that applies even if they bid a diamond or a club. Usually we don't take those very seriously. And we look to bid a major suit first. But if partner has overcalled a club or a diamond, I know they have 5. So now I just need to have 3 to support them. However, I will still mention a 4-card major if I have it before I support their minor suit, just as we would have on regular bidding. So if I have a minimum amount of support, minimum amount of points and support, like about 7 or 8 to 9 points, I will just raise partner's suit. So if they bid, if it went 1 diamond, 1 heart by my partner, I can say 2 hearts. They're just a regular raise. Okay. However, we need to make a note on here because this doesn't say, I forgot to add it to this. We also do one other thing. We use the law of total tricks. Law of total tricks to raise partner's suit. So that means I can raise partner's suit to the level that we have trump between us. So if my partner has bid 1 heart and I have 3 hearts, that's 8 between us. That's the 2 level, 6 plus 2, the 2 level. If I have 4 card support, I will jump to 3 of their suit. That's 9 between us, That's the 3 level of bidding. If I have 5 in the suit, I can just jump to game. The reason we do this is that it makes it difficult for the opponents to bid. So we use the law of total tricks. If I raise my partner, I am showing a minimum hand, the 7 to 9 range, a minimum hand. If I do any direct raise. So 1 heart by them, 2 hearts, 3 hearts, or 4 hearts by me shows a minimum hand, but each shows an extra support card in their suit. The reason we do this is you can read about the law of total tricks. It is a long statistical explanation of life at bridge. But the corollary that comes out of this whole long explanation is, which says basically that if somebody has an 8-card fit, the other pair is going to have an 8-card fit. The law of total tricks corollary tells us that because we both have an 8-card fit at least, we are going to be safe to bid to the level that we have an 8-card fit, as opposed to letting them bid their 8-card fit. So we should, doesn't mean we'll make it, but it means that we should not be down so much that we aren't going to be better off having bid it. So that's what we do. We raise partner suit. If we have more, if we have 10 to 12 points, we cube it in the opponent's suit. And actually, this is old. Actually, this thing that I'm looking at here, is this the same handout I gave you guys last week? Do you remember those of that were in class? Maybe not. Maybe I picked up an older one that I'm using here. Because
no, this is the one you gave us.
Okay, all right, then let me fix this. I know I talked about this in class. I didn't notice your handout said something different. Basically, this 8 or 9 raise, or actually it's about 7 to 9, raising partner suit is the law of total tricks. So you're either going to bid, if whatever he bids, one of something, you will bid 2, 3, or 4 of that something, depending on how many cards you have in the suit. So you bid to the 2 level with 3, the 3 level with 4, and the 4 level with 5. If you have 10 or more points, you Q bid in the opponent's suit. You don't do this jump to game thing. You always Q bid in the opponent's suit. So this Q bid should just be 10 plus. I'll fix this for you guys and send a revised version out to you so you can see. So we really only have 2 categories here. The bottom one is a direct raise. The next one, 10 or more points and support for partner suit. You Q bid the opponent's suit. So it would be like the opponent's bid 1 diamond. My partner bids 1 spade, pass. I bid 2 diamonds. 2 diamonds. That tells partner nothing about diamonds because that's their suit. It says, partner, I've got support for your suit and 10 points. What this does is it makes it really hard for that person to rebid their diamonds. They now will have to go to the 3 level to rebid their diamonds. Whereas my partner, if they had a minimum hand, if they were just back up here with 8 points as an overcaller, they could now just say 2 spades to show me, hey, I didn't have a real good hand to start with. But if they, yes.
So this 13 plus jump to game, is that off?
Yes, that's off. If you have 10 or more, you're going to Q bid. So if you have 13, 14, 15, you don't jump to game. You Q bid.
Okay.
And the reason for that is if your partner only had like 10 points and you've got 10 points, you shouldn't be jumping to game. You've only got 20 points between you. So like I said, I'm going to fix this and send this out to you guys because this is just wrong here. Is that clear? If I at least cleared it up a bit. Yeah. If we look at the book, we're going to look at some exercises in the book. And I think that will help you see. Question?
Sally, I'm a little confused because if you have more than 10 or more points, but you've got the law of total tricks is not used. What if you have
That's correct.
5?
That's correct. The
Okay.
law of total tricks is not used because the law of total tricks is more or less preemptive in nature.
Okay.
It's where
And
you
we're going to
don't
wait and
have
see where
many
we're
points,
going.
right?
Okay.
It's where you don't have many points and you're just trying to mainly interfere with the opponents. But if you
Gotcha.
have 10 or more points and support for your partner, now you're more serious about your bids. And so you want to find the correct level while interfering with the opponents. So that's why we don't. If you do the Q bid, you cannot differentiate between 3, 4, and 5 card support. It just promises 3 card support, but it could be 4 or 5 card support. Okay. Okay. Let's look at your books because we're going to go through some examples in the books. And we will start with page 68. Well, sorry, there was apparently some kind of explosion and house collapse in our neighborhood, which was felt and heard by, like I said, my nephew and my son, who lived 3 or 4 miles away in different directions. And apparently, a lot of people were injured, and I don't know.
That's terrible. I
Not
remember going through that at a house, another neighborhood we lived at. A lot of times it's a gas explosion. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. It's terrible. Although the irony is, we do not have gas in this neighborhood.
Oh,
When we moved
okay.
in here 5 years ago, that was a big thing because I like
Gas.
cooking with gas. Yeah, but
This-
finally I decided, well, we like the house enough, we take it anyway. But that was we couldn't get it brought to our house because it wasn't just our house that didn't have it. The neighborhood doesn't have it now.
Wow. So
Might
no
be
telling.
another neighborhood near us that has it, but our exact one doesn't. But anyway, sorry for the aside, guys. Okay, page 68 in our books. We're going to look at this. The opponents have opened 1 heart, and it's our turn to bid. And we have a hand here that has 12 high card points plus 1 for length. And what should we say with this hand? Well, this hand, we've got 5 spades, and they're good spades. We have the ace, king, jack of spades. So that's 3 of the top, 2 of the top 3, and 3 of the top 5. So we will overcall 1 spade. We will bid 1 spade. Now, this is a hand that if the opponents hadn't bid 1 heart, we could have bid 1 spade with this hand. So in this case, we could have opened or we overcall with this hand. Now, because we've overcalled with this hand, partner doesn't know that we have an opening hand. As far as our partner knows, we just have 8, 9, 10 points and a good 5 card suit. That might be all we have. Okay. But we start with saying 1 spade. The next one, B, we've got 13 high card points plus 2 for length. So a good 15-point hand. We've got 6 diamonds. And the opponents open 1 heart. So we will overcall 2 diamonds. Overcall 2 diamonds. Notice on this hand that if we had no bid by the opponents, and if we had been able to open ourselves, we would have opened this 1 diamond. And we would not have opened this 2 diamonds, even though we have 6 diamonds, but we have too many points to bid 2 diamonds as a preemptive bid. So we would bid 2 diamonds, overcalling the one heart bid that the opponents made. Okay. The next one, C, here we have 8 high card points. We have an ace, jack, 10 of spades. So that meets our criteria for a good suit. And the opponents bid one heart. We will say one spade as an overcall. Now, here's an example of when we would not have opened. We would not have opened this hand. We wouldn't have said anything if it was our first turn to bid. We could not have opened it. But because the opponents opened the bidding, we can overcall with a weaker suit. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here we've got 9 high card points plus 1 for length. The opponent said one heart. Well, we do not have a good 5 card suit, do we? We've got 5 clubs, but they are nowhere near meeting the criteria of a good suit. So we're going to have to pass. And if we're going to bid at the 2 level, we need to have a little bit better hand than just 8 or 9. We need to have 11 or 12 points. So we're going to have to pass that. The next one, E, we've got 14 high card points plus 2 for length. We've got 2 5 card suits there. Both of the 5 card suits meet our criteria for being a good suit. So we're going to want to overcall 2 diamonds in this case. We do have good clubs and good diamonds, but when we have 2 5 card suits, we bid the higher one first. Our general rules tell us 2 4 card suits, we go up the line, so we bid the lower one first. Although in this case, we wouldn't be bidding a 4 card suit at all. When we have 2 5 card suits, we bid the higher one first. The reason we bid the higher one first, if you stop to think about it, it kind of makes sense. If we bid the lower one first, clubs, and partner bids something, if we want to bid the diamonds, we have to skip over another level of clubs to bid diamonds. Does this make sense? So if we said 2 clubs and partner said 2 hearts, and we wanted to name our diamond suit, we are now at the 3 level. Partner might have been willing to do clubs instead of diamonds, but we've taken that opportunity away from him when we bid the lower one first. So if we have 2 5 cards, we always bid the upper one first. So it would be if we bid the diamonds first and partner bids 2 hearts, then we can come back and say 2 clubs showing a second suit now, or 3 clubs. Now he can pass 3 clubs, he can bid 3 diamonds, or he can rebid his hearts without leaving that level. Does that make sense to everybody? That's why, I mean, early on, I tell you this rule, it's kind of hard to illustrate it. But now that you're seeing more with the overcalls and the competitive bidding, you can see that the rule is important, that it keeps you from going too high when you have 2 5 card suits. That's the reason we bid the lower one first. So this one, we would bid the higher one first. We would bid 2 diamonds with E. Let's look at the next one, F. Here, the opponents have bid 1 heart. We've got 13 high card points plus 1 for length. We've got a good 5 card heart suit. So what would we bid with this? Pass. Because the good 5 card suit we have is the opponent's suit. So we're just going to smile and hope that they keep going in hearts because we've got 5 of them. They're going to have some problems.
So you wouldn't Q bid because you don't have an alternative?
You wouldn't Q bid because you don't have a suit to bid.
Right, you don't have an alternative suit, right?
A Q bid is a response to a bid that partner has made. So we are the ones that are making the first bid here. So a Q bid would is not appropriate here. A Q bid of an opponent's opening bid, a Q bid by us in that situation means 2 5-card suits. And it's called a Michael's Q bid, which is not a beginner bid. You guys, Nancy, you and Nancy Joe have probably heard of it because you've been playing a lot, but it's a direct Q bid by the opening person for our side is a whole different meaning. So we would never do that. The Q bids we're talking about in conjunction with overcalls are when our partner has bid something and we want to respond to our partner because we have support for them. If we've got 10 or more points, then we Q bid. Is that cool for everybody? In this situation, if they had bid something else, we would love to overcall 1 heart. But because they bid 1 heart, we have nothing to bid. We can't overcall. We don't have a 5-card suit that we can bid. That would be their suit. One thing we could consider is, do we want to bid no trump when we have the opponent's suit stopped? That's a time to consider no trump. And we would be kind of close to considering it here. But first of all, we've only got 13 high card points for one plus 1 for link. We need to have at least 15 points to do that. But we do have their opponent's suit stopped. This is an example of where you have the opponent's suit stopped for sure. Okay, let's go on to G. Here we have 16 high card points. The opponents have opened 1 heart. Let's look at this hand. What do you think you would bid with this hand? Well, this is a no trump hand. You would have opened this 1 no trump. So you can overcall 1 no trump with this hand as long as you have the opponent's suit stopped. And look, we've got the king, queen, small of hearts. So we definitely have that suit stopped. So we would bid 1 no trump with this. Debbie and William, we are on page 68 looking at the exercises right now since you just joined us. That's what we're doing right now. We're on page 68 or 76. I think you might have the old book at 76. Okay, the next one is H. Here we have 8 high card points plus 2 for length. The opponents have opened 1 heart. In our hand, we have an excellent 6-card spade suit, 8 high card points, and 2 for length. So what should we bid with this hand? Well, we could overcall 1 spade. But if we overcall 1 spade, it just says 8 to about 16 points and 5-card suit. So it's very ambiguous. It's a wide range. It's even a wide range of cards, right? If we just say 1 spade. But look at that hand. That hand qualifies for a 2 spade preemptive bid, right? So we can bid 2 spades with that hand. They opened 1 heart. We can say 2 spades. 1 spade would not be terribly wrong, but 2 spades is much better. 2 spades says less than opening hand, 6 cards. That's a way better description of that hand. Does everybody see that? If you have a more specific bid that you can make it. Qualifies for 1 spade, but 2 spades, which is also a correct bid, is much more specific. So that's what we would choose to bid. In the last one here, it's a similar example. Here we've got a 7-card, really good club suit, but we only have 7 high card points, but the opponents opened 1 heart, so we're going to preemptively bid 3 clubs. Okay? So if you have a preemptive bid you can make as an overcall, you will do that because that's more descriptive. But if you don't, and many times we don't meet the criteria for the preemptive bid, then we just do the overcall, even if it is ambiguous. It's the best we can do. Now, down at the bottom of the page is a couple of examples of where they have bid 2 suits. In these examples down here, our left-hand opponent bid 1 spade, our partner passed, the next person bids 2 diamonds. So now we can overcall, and the first example, we've got a 5-card good clubs heart suit, but we only have 9 high card points. We could bid 2 hearts, but remember I said if you have to overcall at the 2 level, you need to have a better suit, closer to an opening hand, 11 or 12 points. This hand is not strong enough to bid 2 hearts at the 2 level. If you could have gotten a bid in 1 heart, yes, but because the right-hand opponent bid 2 diamonds and you would have to say 2 hearts, you can't. You aren't strong enough. You need to pass. The next example, though, you can bid 2 hearts. Here you have an opening hand, 13 high card points plus 1 for length. So the bidding by the opponents when 1 spade, then 2 diamonds. Now you can overcall 2 hearts. That tells your partner basically an opening hand and a good 5-card heart suit. Now, frankly, if the opponents opened, that's 13 points, and then responded, that's at least 6 points. Actually, it's at least 10 points that the 2 diamond person had, right? Because he has to have 10 points to say a new suit at the 2 level, right? So that's 23 points that the opponents have, right? You've got 13. So 23 and 13 is 36. Your partner is marked to have no points. They might have 4 points maximum. Okay. So you don't really expect your side to go anywhere, but you are able to tell your partner about a really good heart suit that you have so that your partner can lead hearts to you, if nothing else. And if you happen to hit lucky and your partner has 4 or 5 hearts themselves, they may wind up bidding 3 or 4 hearts and keeping the opponents from getting to bid a game and whatever they might have a game in. So this is the power of the overcall. And then you have another example at the last one there, where the opponents have bid 1 spade and 2 diamonds. Here you have a 7-card club suit, and you will bid 3 clubs. Now that sounds like a preempt, but it's not, because that's the next bid after 2 diamonds. That's the next bid up the bidding ladder that you could make. So that's not a preemptive bid. That 3 clubs, although in this case you have 7, it could be 6 clubs and an opening hand. So it doesn't promise 7. So everybody, it makes sense to everybody. Okay, now let's go on over to page 70, the next page over. And here's where we're going to start talking about, we were just now talking about making the overcall. Now let's talk about responding or advancing our partner's overcall. So in this situation at the top of the page, we have opponents opened a diamond and our partner overcalled 1 heart. The next person passes. So we want to see what should we bid with each of these hands where our partner is overcalled 1 heart. So the first one, we've got 3 points, 1 for length in spades. The opponents have bid a diamond. Our partner bid a heart. What would we say here? Pass, right? We only got 3 points. We can't support partners' hearts. We don't have enough points, and we don't have enough a good enough suit to say our own suit. So we just pass. You just pass if you have nothing to say. And notice that your partner has overcalled a heart and you have one heart, right? One heart. So you would like to get them out of trouble because they're probably going to be in trouble, right? Don't you hate leaving them there? Don't you feel sorry for them? Wouldn't you like to rescue them? Well, we have a saying, only Jesus saves. So do not try to save your partner unless you really think you can save your partner. You can't save your partner by bidding a spade. Here, your partner could have the same singleton spade that you've got a singleton heart. If you have enough points to cover that up, maybe. But here, you've got no points. You don't even have a good suit. So don't try to rescue your partner unless you really have a chance of rescuing your partner. Usually, when you try to rescue your partner, you just make things worse. Just let it be what it's going to be. And then we'll all pick up the cards, shuffle them again, and go on to the next hand. So don't worry about it. Okay, the next situation, again, partner has overcalled one heart. Here we have 7 high card points plus 1 for length in clubs. And we have 3 card support for our partner's heart suit. So we are going to want to raise partner's heart suit, right? So we said we would, if we are in the minimum category of about 7 to 9, we raise using the law of total tricks. We raise based on the number of cards in the suit we have. Here we have 3 cards, so we will just raise to 2 hearts. That's the 2 level. 8 and 2, 8. 6 and 2 is 8. And that's the number of cards we have. The next one, here we only have 5 high card points, but notice that we have support for our partner's suit and we have a singleton spade. And remember, when we revalue our hands, just as we did in beginning bridge, where we have a fit for our partner, we revalue, instead of using length, we use shortness. And when we have a singleton, we can add 3 extra points. So here we have 5 high card points plus 3 extra points for the singleton. That's 8, a total of 8 points. So we're in the minimum range still, the 7 to 9 range. So we're going to raise our partner based on the number of cards we have in support. And here we have 4 card support. They've promised 5. We have 4. That's 9. So we can bid to the 3 level. 6 plus 3 is 9. So we would bid 3 hearts in this situation. The next one, we only have 3 high card points here, but we have support for our partner. We've got 5 hearts and we've got a void in clubs. A void in clubs, when we can support partner, is worth 5 points for that shortness. So we've got the 3 high card points plus 5 for length. That's a total of 8 points. We bid to the level. We have trump between us. He's got 5. I've got 5. That's 10. That is the 4 level. So we bid 4 hearts. 4 hearts. That's what law of total tricks tells us. Are we likely to make 4 hearts? No. We might, but very unlikely. But we are going to go down less than the positive score they will bid by getting to bid 2 or 3 of whatever their suit is. So we are cutting them out of the bidding. And we might go down 1 or 2 for 50 or 100 points. And even if they make like 3 diamonds, that would be 60 plus 50 is 110 points. So even if we go down 2 for 100 points, that is not as bad. Losing 100 is not as bad as losing 110. We're better off going down 2. Sometimes going down is good bridge. Going down 1 is nearly always good bridge. Going down 2 is sometimes good bridge. Going down 3, 4 sometimes is good bridge if you get the right circumstances. The next situation, E, here again, partner is overcalled 1 heart. Here we have 10 high card points. We have 3 card support for partner. So when we have at least 10 plus and support, we cube it. We don't raise partner suit, we cube it. That means in this case, we'll bid 2 diamonds. 2 diamonds. That's a cube bid, promising partner that we've got 10 points and support. The next one, even better. Here we've got 13 high card points and support for partner. And so we are still going to do that cube bid, 2 diamonds. That's the suit they bid. So when we bid their suit, we are showing support for our partner and at least 10 points. Then partner can do what they want to do. Depending if they were in a minimum, they're just going to rebid their hearts. But if they had extra, they're probably going to jump to another level. They might jump to 3 hearts. If they had 13 points, now we would bid 14 points, knowing that they had extra, not just their minimum. So this is how these work back and forth.
So if they bid 3 hearts, we'd go to 4 hearts, I take it?
With 13 points, not with that E, where we just had 10 points, the minimum to do it. Because if we bid 2 diamonds and they jump to 3 hearts, that shows that they did not have enough to bid 4 hearts on their own. That shows they didn't have 16 points because they knew we have 10. They have 16. They'll just go to game. They didn't do that. They jumped, so that shows they have a few extra points. So they probably are in the 13 to 15 point range. If they just had 8 to 10 of their own, they would have bid 2 hearts. So the 3 hearts says, partner, are you at the minimum or do you have extra? Well, with E, we're at the minimum for our 2 diamond cubit. So we would just bid, we would pass their invitational 3 heart bid. But on F, they're saying, hey, do you have extra? And we do. We've got 13 points of our own. If they've got a little extra, we should be okay to be at game.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's look at the next page, then page 72, because there's a few examples here. And this is what to do after partner has responded to your bid. So let's look at the first one. You opened 1 spade. Excuse me. The opponent's opened a diamond. You overcalled 1 spade. Overcalled 1 spade. Pass. Partner bid 2 diamonds. That is a Q bid. Partner has support for your spades and 10 points. East then passed. So now you have to decide what to do over partner's Q bid. You have to do something, right? Because we don't want to play 2 diamonds. That's the opponent's suit. We have to do something. So what are we going to do? Well, that first example, we barely had enough to overcall. Partner's got 10 points, great, but we need to tell him, hey, don't expect anything else from me. I was at a minimum. So you just bid 2 hearts. You bid the minimum there. Excuse me, 2 spades. 2 spades, the minimum bid to say, partner, nothing extra. Nothing extra. The next one, you've actually got 13 high card points plus 2 for length. So when partner bids 2 diamonds, you are very close to being able to say 4 spades on your own. If you had 16 points, you definitely would. Here you've got 13 points plus 2 for length. So probably the best bid is 3 spades. You have to bid something. You need to tell them, I'm not quite strong enough to go to game, but I'm really stronger than what you might expect. So you would bid 3 spades with this hand. The next one, it's similar, but there's a key difference here. The next one, you do have 13 high card points plus 2 for link, just the way you did before. But here you've got something really extra, and that is another good suit. You have 2 good suits here, spades and clubs. And when you have 2 good suits, when you're really distributional like that, it makes your hand worth more than it might otherwise be. So both of these hands are 15 points. But with the first one, you're better to just bid 3 spades. With the second one, you can more confidently bid 4 spades. Now, this is hard to see the difference between those 2 hands. So you would not be terribly wrong to bid either 4 spades with both or 3 spades with both. This is one of those ones where you have to make a decision based on how aggressive or conservative you are with your bidding. We all do this all the time. And you need to start deciding where your line is. What I see a lot of times that beginning bridge players do is they are not confident about their own bidding and play, and so they sandbag. You play very conservatively, so you really don't get to the games that you should get to. So try not to do that. Try to really make the bid that you should make, even though if you're thinking, oh, might have trouble, I'd rather just bid 2 spades here. Try to bid it correctly. But like I say, the difference between these two, I'll give you credit either way on both of those hands.
And doesn't it help on C that you have a singleton?
Yes, it does. Although you need to remember that singletons are worth more when they are in the short side. And because you bid spades first, you are probably not the short side. Your opponent probably is. If you
Okay.
both have 5, or even if he has 4, it doesn't make too much difference. But if he just has 3, it doesn't really help you to have a singleton. You're not going to get any extra tricks. What it does is it keeps them from taking extra diamonds. To that extent, it's good, but it doesn't get you extra tricks. So, but
Okay.
that is kind of why, Nancy, we do like the 2 5-card suits better than the 2 doubletons that are over here in hand B. So you're kind of right about it. But the reason is really because those cards are in that long suit, not really because we have the singleton.
I have a question. How
Okay.
come the answers in the book it says to bid 3 clubs, but I thought I heard you say 3 spades.
Oh, okay. Sorry. With this one, I forgot to mention of that. Yes, you can say 3 clubs because 3 clubs does show a second suit and the potential for game. So you could say 3 clubs. I would not. I would bid 4 spades with this hand because you really don't want to play 3 clubs. I mean, what is partner going to say that is going to get you to anywhere other than 4 spades? That's why I don't like the 3 clubs bids here. But following her logic, it does make sense. You do have a second suit that you can bid and tell partner about, and that does say 13 points. But I'm not really looking for a second suit once we found a fit. This is kind of like what you don't learn in beginning bridge, but is something that you'll learn a little bit later, is a bid that you can make called a help suit game try. It's where you're not sure as the opener, based on your partner's response, whether then you can go to game. It's usually if it goes 1 spade, 2 spades. If you're a little strong, 15, 16 points, you're not sure whether you can go to game or not. Then you bid a second suit to see if they have extra. That's kind of what this is. But I think for you guys, it's safer to just decide whether or not you're going to go to game or just rebid the spades. But as she says, 3 clubs is not a bad bid. Thanks for asking that. I had a note here, forgot to mention. Okay, let's look just down real quick at the bottom of the page. Here, the opponent's bid one club. You overcall one heart, and your partner bids one spade, a new suit. The opponent's pass. So what do you bid now? Look at that first hand. You just had 8 points to start with and a 5-card suit. That's what you said to start with. You don't have anything extra. You barely could make that one heart bid. So when your partner bids one spade, he's got at least 5, because kind of a general rule is that if partner has shown you a 5-card suit, for you to bid a new suit, you need to have a 5-card suit. That's just kind of a general rule. If they show a 5-card suit and you bid a new suit, you've got 5. Well, he's got 5 cards in the suit. So, and he didn't support your spade, so he does not have 3. So you're better off just passing. Here you have minimum points. You're just at the 1 level. You're not thrilled to play one spade, but that's probably the best place to be.
But I thought if your partner responds with a different suit, that it was a forcing.
You're right. Ordinarily it is, but not on an overcall.
Okay. Okay.
And the reason for that is you could have as few as 8 points. When we make the opponents, and when you have an opening hand, we force you to bid. That's because you had an opening hand. But in the overcall situation, you could just have 8 points. And so a new suit in this situation is not forcing. Could you recognize that it would be normally, but not in this case? Okay, let's look at the next example. Again, partner has bid one spade with 3 in the suit. And you've got 3 in his suit. And you've got 13 points. You can either bid one no trump, or better, I would bid like 3 spades.
Now, which example are we on?
On E, where she says you should bid 2 spades.
But you would bid 3?
Yeah, I've got 13 points.
Wow. I know,
And
but you
so-
only have 3 spades.
I only have 3, but he's got 5. He's supposed to have 5 to bid him. So
Yeah.
we've got a fit in spades, and I don't know how many points he has. And he thinks I've got 8, that I could have as few as 8. So I'm going to really encourage him if he has extra. If he has 8 and I have 13, that's 21 points. That's, if that's all he has, that can be, we might be too high. But I'm far enough away from the 8 points that I want to show him I'm far enough away from the 8 points to make that bid. He only has to have like 6 or 7 points to make that spade bid. So he could have very few points. All right, guys, that's it for our overcall class. Tomorrow in class, we will take up the takeout double, which is a lot of fun. So we'll be doing that then. All right. I'll see you guys in class tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.